ostensibly replaced by the evil Locke, the vicious mercenary, who dared to cut off the hand of the Kingslayer. As fans know, Locke then forced Brienne of Tarth to fight a giant bear in a pit. Locke was every inch the thug and bully that Hoat was in the book, but Hoat suffers a much darker fate than his TV counterpart. Yeah, Locke's television demise was violent. A brand-possessed Hodor nearly popped his evil head off, but it pales in comparison to the bodily atrocity that was inflicted on Hoat. In the book, Hoat tries to rape Brienne before feeding her to the bear, but the tough as nails Brienne bit his ear off. Hoat's wound festers, and he becomes delirious, but is still determined to hold the keep of Harrenhal. When the Mountain-Clegane arrives to take the keep back for Tywin Lannister, Clegane finds the delirious and defiant Hoat. The Mountain orders his men to slowly slice pieces of Hoat's body away and bandage the wounds, so the mercenary lives through the horrific ordeal. The Mountain then feeds the pieces to Hoat and the other prisoners and makes sure that his captive lives to suffer for many days. Being crushed by Hodor is no day at the beach, but the Mountain made sure that Hoat's book death was one of the most brutal and disturbing in ASOIAS history. Largo Hoat is the leader of the Brave Companions, a particularly unsavory sellsword company in the Seven Kingdoms, referred to as the Bloody Murmurs. The Murmurs are described as the scum of the world, criminals and outcasts from many countries, with Hoat himself originating in Quohor. He is sometimes called the Goat due to his helm, which is shaped to appear like goat horns, as well as his goatee. Appearance and character. Largo is a tall and gaunt man with a 2-foot long goatee dangling from a pointed chin. Largo wears a chain of linked coins from all the places where he has fought. Coins are of every shape and size, cast and hammered, bearing the likenesses of kings, wizards, gods, and demons, and all manner of fanciful beasts. He rides a Zorse. His coat of arms feature the black goat of Quohor, and he wears a helm shaped as a goat's head. A perpetually swollen tongue causes Largo to lisp and slobber when he speaks. Despite this, he is more cunning than he seems, as no man survives being the commander of the Brave Companions without being ruthless and shrewd. At some point, Largo caught a venereal disease and so began sending women to be examined and given the all clear by Qyburn as a precautionary measure before raping them. He is a sadist who frequently tortures his prisoners by chopping off their hands and feet, earning him an additional nickname, the Crippler. Recent events. A Game of Thrones. Largo's company is employed by Lord Tywin Lannister and let loose upon the Riverlands to burn and pillage in an attempt to draw out and capture Robb Stark, so that he can be traded with Jaime Lannister. And the other Reaver captains each lead 300 cavalry. He may have had other free riders under his command in addition to the Brave Companions. A Clash of Kings. Although the terror unleashed around the God's Eye by the Mountain's men and the Brave Companions has neither motivated Robb Stark to march against Lord Tywin Lannister, who has taken Harrenhal as his seat, nor secured the release of Sir Jaime Lannister. Lord Tywin still keeps Largo Hoat's men employed. They are mainly responsible for foraging, bringing the fruits of their plundering to Harrenhal, then march out again soon. When Arya Stark observes them for the first time, she wonders how many monsters Lord Tywin does have. There is tension between the Lannister forces and Largo's men, leading to occasional violence. One such incident starts with an archer from Lord Louis Lyddon's men taunting some brave companions over their failure to capture the Brotherhood without banners and their leader, Beric Dondarn, and leads to the death of Sir Harris Swift's squire. After Tywin has the archer and two brave companions hanged over the incidents, Vargo and Harris complete their reconciliation with a kiss. Lord Tywin Lannister marches his troops out of Harrenhal to pursue Robb Stark, who has invaded the Westerlands, leaving Sir Amerei Lorch behind as castellan of the castle. However, Amerei and Vargo hate each other, and Vargo soon decides to turn cloak. He leads the brave companions to Lord Roose Bolton's camp, where Vargo and Lord Bolton reach a deal. The brave companions arrange for Harrenhal to fall into the hands of the Northmen, in exchange for which Vargo is promised the title of Lord of Harrenhal once Roose and his men leave the castle. As a result of the agreement, together with some plunder that includes a huge caged bear, Vargo brings a group of Northern knights to Harrenhal, led by Robert Glover and Aenys Frey. He claims they are captives the brave companions took when they repelled an attempt by Lord Bolton's forces to cross the Trident. As part of the feint, the Northerners are chained in ragged clothes and many fake injuries. Despite his displeasure with Vargo's assumed big catch, Amerei falls for the trick and orders that the captives are brought to a dungeon, ignoring a protest by Robb that they have been promised honorable treatment by Vargo. Before the brave companions can keep their side of the bargain, releasing the prisoners so that they can overpower the small force left to defend Harrenhal, Arya Stark, not really realizing what is going on, organizes a successful liberation of the captives with the assistance of Jaqen H'ghar, Biter, and Rourke. The Northern and the brave companions, now joined by Biter and Rourke, then bring the castle under their control, and the following evening Roose arrives to take his seat at Harrenhal. Vargo and Lord Bolton watch on as the brave companions parade a naked Amerei through the yard and throw him into the bear pit. The brave companions keep foraging for Lord Bolton, with the additional assignment of rooting out Lannister forces they come across. Vargo splits up his group in 4 parties, the largest led by him, the others by his most trusted captains, so that they can visit as many villages as possible. Vargo's methods of identifying traitors is simple. He merely seizes people who helped him while he was employed by Lord Tywin, and confiscates the money they received for their assistance. As a result, the brave companions now often return to Harrenhal with bags full of silver. Arya, serving as cupbearer to Roose Bolton, finds out from him that he is going to hand over control of Harrenhal to Vargo eventually, and that she will stay behind. Apprehending that with the Bolton men gone, nobody is going to check the violence of the brave companions, and that she could become a target of Lord in particular, repeatedly suggested he would rape her. Arya flees from Harrenhal, taking Hot Pie and Gendry along. A Storm of Swords. After Sir Jaime Lannister and Brienne of Tarth are captured by his men, Vargo orders Jaime's hand to be cut off as a message to his father. Hope also hopes of gaining the hand of Alyssa Karstark, offered by Lord Rickard Karstark, to whoever brings him the Kingslayer in marriage, which would give him the chance to become Lord of Carvel. While that displeases Lord Roose Bolton, he still intends to leave Harrenhal to Vargo with hope, albeit knowing that Lord Tywin Lannister is bound to retake the castle and chastise Vargo eventually. Following his taking control of Harrenhal after Lord Bolton's departure, Vargo tries to force himself on Brienne, but she bites him in the left ear. He throws her into the bear pit and has her fight his bear with a tourney sword and no armor. Jaime returns to rescue Brienne from expected rape at the hands of the brave companions. He offers to ransom Brienne, but Vargo says that if he wants her, he should go and get her. Jaime rescues Brienne with the assistance of both bowmen, commanded by Steel Shanks Walden. Vargo reluctantly allows them to leave Harrenhal, stating he is merciful. Commanded by Lord Tywin to retake Harrenhal, the Mountain's men arrive at the lightly defended castle. After the capture of Harrenhal, Vargo's hands and feet are cut off. A feast for crows. Timian explains to Brienne of Tarth that Vargo's ear became infected, turning black and leaking pus. Urswick and Ward argue that the brave companion should leave Harrenhal, but Vargo, still believing he could be Lord of Harrenhal, orders his men to defend it for him. Almost all brave companions abandon their leader at Harrenhal and disperse, allowing Sir Gregor Clegane to easily capture the castle. Before leaving for King's Landing to fight at Tyrion Lannister's trial by combat for the death of King Joffrey I Baratheon, Gregor finished Vargo off. When Sir Jaime Lannister returns to Harrenhal on his way to ending the siege of Riverrun, he commands that Vargo's head be shown to him. Although most of the flesh is gone and the lips, nose, and ears have been sliced off, Jaime recognizes that it is Vargo because of the distinctive goatee. Shitmouth and Raff, the sweetling, inform Jaime that Gregor found Vargo sitting alone in the hall of 100 Hearths, half mad with pain and fever from his festering wound. In a mockery of Vargo's preferred way of torturing his prisoners, Gregor cut off Vargo's limbs piece by piece over an extended period of time, while he had the wounds bandaged so that Vargo stayed alive. Vargo first lost his hands and feet, then his arms and legs. The extremities, as well as other parts of Vargo's body, were then fed as roast goat to northern prisoners that Gregor brought to Harrenhal, including Sir Willis Manderly, as well as to Vargo himself. After reflecting on how revenge has lost its savor to him, Jaime tosses the head to his squire Peck and orders him to throw it into the god's eye. Jaime wonders whether the prisoners having an inkling what was fed to them at one point, but decided it is better not to inquire on this. He observes how fat Sir Willis Manderly still is after his extended captivity. He concludes the man had too much roast goat. Whereas the sweetling took possession of Vargo's chain of linked coins. Quotes by Vargo. Kingslayer, you are my captive. Vargo to Jaime Lannister. Thief, worth a bag of Thapirith. Vargo on Brienne of Tarth. Quotes about Vargo. How many monsters does Lord Tywin have? Arya Stark's thoughts upon seeing Vargo for the first time. Hoat is more cunning than he appears. No man commands a company such as the brave companions for long unless he has some wits about him. Roose Bolton to Jaime Lannister. The goat is Lord of Harrenhal, and the Lord of Harrenhal does not haggle. Qyburn to Jaime Lannister. Conclusions of Vargo Hoat. The sadistic leader of a company of soldiers that was at one point employed by the Bolton family, Vargo Hoat, is responsible for the loss of Jaime Lannister's hand and Brienne of Tarth's near death by bear. If that sounds familiar, it's because Hoat was replaced in the show by Locke, Noah Taylor, who fulfilled the same narrative purpose as Hoat, but was nonetheless a very different character. While Hoat is a mercenary who starts out working for Tywin Lannister before switching allegiance to Roose Bolton, for example, Locke and his cohorts are loyal servants of Ramsay Bolton through and through. Vargo Hoat never went to the wall, as Locke did in Season 4. Instead, he was killed by Gregor Clegane at Harrenhal. The most obvious difference, while Locke is a serious sort of fellow, Vargo Hoat was a somewhat ridiculous character, most memorable for his trademark lisp. "You flew my bear." Catchphrase. Now, as we recall, we had touched the brief history during the Targaryen genealogy 101, and so we're only going to touch this a little bit again, because there was a close connection, and he probably either would have been the same size as Tyrion Lannister, if not just a little bit taller. Hatchface is one of the most chilling characters introduced in The Clash of Kings. Hatchface, or Patches, was once a famed jester known far and wide in the Seven Kingdoms. A famous fool was on his way to Dragonstone to entertain the young Baratheon children when his ship broke up, killing all aboard, except for Patchface, that is, who washed ashore days later, hopelessly insane and babbling about undead creatures and ancient evils that live in the waters. So the humorless Stannis grew up with a mad fool who babbled about the things down below. This adds to the cold and emotionless nature of Stannis Baratheon, who never learned to laugh because his childhood fool went mad. Patchface has his face tattooed in motley and can barely function, but he is a constant companion to Stannis' daughter, the deformed Princess Shireen, who still can find humor in the ravings of a madman, but not on Game of Thrones, where the things down below go unmentioned because there is no mad Patchface to sing their tale. Patchface, or Patches, is Stannis Baratheon's court fool and jester to Dragonstone. His face is tattooed in motley, earning his name. Appearance and character. Patchface takes his name for the tattoos covering his broad face and bald head, marked in a pattern of green and red squares. This is the fashion in the free city of Volantis for slaves and servants. In his youth, he was a clever boy with astonishing wit. After his accident, however, his mind and body are broken. After his survival from the shipwreck, he is described as soft and obese, subject to twitches and trembles, and has a weird sideways walk. In history, Patchface was a jester, slave in Volantis. He was a clever boy with astonishing wit. His freedom was bought by Lord Stephen Baratheon, who was impressed with him and intended to bring him back to Storm's End from his trip to the Free Cities. The king, the old king, Aerys II Targaryen, may had not been quite so mad in those days, had sent his lordship to seek a bride for Prince Rhaegar, who had no sisters to wed. "We have found the most splendid fool," he wrote Cresson, a fortnight before he was to return home from his fruitless mission. "Only a boy, yet nimble as a monkey and witty as a dozen courtiers. Juggles and riddles and does magic, and he can sing prettily in 4 tongues. We bought his freedom and hope to bring him home with us. Robert will be delighted with him, and perhaps in time he will even teach Stannis how to laugh." Maester Cresson regrets that Patchface never did teach Stannis to laugh. Lord Stephen Baratheon's ship, Windtrout, broke up in Shipbreaker Bay within sight of Storm's End, while his son Stannis Baratheon and Robert Baratheon watched. Everyone aboard ship was killed, including the Lord, his lady, and over 100 soldiers and sailors. Patchface washed up 3 days later, his naked skin white, wrinkled, and the man that found him, Johnny, swears to his dying day that the fool's skin was clammy cold. They had taken him for dead, but then he coughed up water, albeit broken in mind and body. The ordeal had taken his memories and half his wit. Now he is subject to twitches and trembles and mostly incoherent. What happened to him during the 2 days is unknown, but the fisherfolk like to say a mermaid had taught him to breathe water in return for his seed. It was suggested by Sir Harbert, the Castellan of Storm's End, that it would be the kindest for Maester Cresson to let the mad boy die, but he had refused and now wonders at that decision. Patchface is employed as court fool and jester at Dragonstone. He spent most of his time with Shireen Baratheon, Stannis' daughter, who calls him Patches. He offers her strange insights and strange songs, sometimes touching upon what may have really happened to the boy at the bottom of the bay. As a side note, to offer his seed means he would have gotten a mermaid pregnant, and thus having half human, half mermaid children, who then, upon theory, can get legs when they hit dry land. Recent events: the Clash of Kings. Patchface accompanies Princess Shireen Baratheon when she visits Maester Cresson in his chamber to see the White Raven. Later, the fool is the feast where Cresson attempts to kill Melisandre with poisoned wine, but the poison does not affect her. Cresson drinks what is left and dies. Patchface is in attendance when Stannis Baratheon burns the statues of the Seven and Dragonstone's beach. Peter Baelish alleges that Shireen is the daughter of Patchface and Selyse Warren. A storm of swords. When Davos Seaworth returns to Dragonstone, he finds Patches playing with Shireen in every storm. A dance with dragons. Patches accompanies Shireen and Selyse to Eastwatch by the Sea and Castle Black. Melisandre tells Jon Snow that she has glimpsed the fool in her flames and considers him dangerous. Rhymes. Some of Patchface's rhymes seem to be of prophetic nature, though none of his listeners understand now. For more about this, you would have to do research on the patch-based theories. Quotes by Patch-Face. The shadows come to dance, my lord. Dance, my lord. Dance, my lord. The shadows come to stay, my lord. Stay, my lord. Stay, my lord. Patch-Face to Crescent and Shireen Barat. Under the sea, smoke rises, bubbles, and flames burn green and blue and black. I know, oh, oh, oh. Patch-Face during the burning of the seventh on Dragonstone. Fool's blood, king's blood, blood of maiden's thigh. Chains for the guests, chains for the bridegroom. I. Patch-Face the dapple seaman. Under the sea, the old fish eat the young fish. Out here, the young fish teach the old fish. Patch-Face the dapple seaman. In the dark, the dead are dancing. I know, oh, oh, oh. Patch-Face and Castle Black. Under the sea, the mermen feast on starfish soup. All the serving men are crabs. Patch-Face and Castle Black. The crow. Under the sea, the crows are white as snow. I know, oh, oh, oh. Patch-Face to Jon Snow. Mail Gord to Jon Snow. Lord Snow, who will lead this reindeer? Jon Snow responds, are you offering yourself, sir? Mailguard responds, do I look so foolish? Patch-Face then cuts in, I will lead it. We will march into the sea and out again. Under the waves we will ride seahorses, and mermaids will blow seashells to announce our coming. Oh, oh, oh. Mailgorn, Jon Snow, and Patch-Face. Quotes about Patch-Face. That creature is dangerous. Many a time I have glimpsed him in my flames. Sometimes there are skulls about him, and his lips are red with blood. Sonder to Jon Snow. Conclusion of Patch-Face. Patch-Face, for some reason, showrunners D.B. Weiss and David Benioff gave the old heave-ho to Game of Thrones resident creepy psychic clown, Patch-Face. In the books, Patch-Face is Stannis' court jester, and one of the only friends his daughter Shireen has. Stannis' father, Stefan, discovered the young slave while on a mission overseas, and bought his freedom. We could bring him home to entertain his sons. Patch-Face made it there, but neither of Stannis' parents did. They both perished in a shipwreck, of which Patch-Face was the sole survivor. He washed up on shore 3 days later, half mad, and with no memory of how he survived. Now, he speaks mostly in rambling riddles, occasionally do things like predict the weather ratty. The next real layer of creep, the name Patch-Face, comes from his face and head being tattooed with a pattern of red and green squares. Jingle Bell, also known as Aegon Frey. Speaking of jesters in the books, Jingle Bell was the grandson of Walder Frey. He was a mentally disabled young man who entertained his guests in his school's motley at the Red Wedding. When the carnage began, Catelyn Stark grabbed Jingle Bell and put her knife to his throat, begging the elder Frey to spare Robb's life. Walder says that he would gladly trade a half-wit grandson for the life of Robb Stark. As Robb is slaughtered, Catelyn cuts the cognitively impaired jester's throat. It was a moment of pure emotionless rage for Catelyn Stark, and was a clue of things to come for the Lady of Riverwood. In the television series, Catelyn threatens one of Frey's young wives and cuts her throat when Robb is killed. I guess Game of Thrones has something against jesters, as both Jingle Bell and Patchface, memorable fools both, were left out of the show. I guess they feel just doesn't have a sense of humor. Aegon Frey, called Jingle Bell, is the lack-wit son of Sir Stephen Frey and the Fool of Twins. Appearance and character. Aegon is about 50, thin, stooped, and has long gray hair. He strongly resembles his grandfather, Lord Walder Frey, but has larger and friendlier eyes. Aegon is a simple and harmless blackwit with a vacant expression. Aegon wears fine blue wool and gray satin, as well as a crown and collar decorated with small brass bells. In history, Lord Walder Frey claims to have hosted 3 kings at the Twins, but Jingle Bell was not introduced to them. In recent events, for Game of Thrones, Jingle Bell is not in attendance when Catelyn Stark negotiates with his grandfather, Lord Walder Frey, at the Twins. A Clash of Kings. Sir Stephen Frey, Aegon's father, and the heir of Lord Walder, dies after the Battle of Oxcross. Big Walder and Little Walder Frey mention Aegon and his sons while discussing the new line of succession, but Jingle Bell is not known to have any offspring. A Storm of Swords. When Robb Stark, King of the Trident, comes to the Twins to apologize for breaking his marriage vows, Lord Walder Frey has Jingle Bell present when he receives Robb. The king's mother, Catelyn Stark, interprets this as an intentionally insulting breach of courtesy. Regardless, Robb compliments the bravery of Aegon's late father, Sir Stephen. When Walder introduces the women of the Twins to Robb, Lady Joyous, Ford, restrains Aegon from rising as well. During the wedding feast of Lord Edward Tully and Rosalind Frey, Aegon prances to Alisand, and he covers his ears when the great John sings "The Bear and the Maiden Fair," while musicians play "Flowers of Spring." He sucks wine from his fingers, hops about during the bedding ceremony, and steals food from the plates of guests. After the killing begins in the Red Wedding, Aegon hides under a table. Catelyn seizes Jingle Bell, however, and threatens to kill him if Walder does not release Robb, who has been struck by arrows. Walder replies that he would readily trade a half-wit grandson for a son. After Robert is stabbed by Lord Roose Bolton, Catelyn saws through Aegon's throat, killing him. Sir Raymond Frey then slits Catelyn's throat. Before being hanged by the Brotherhood without banners, Amerei Frey uses the murder of Aegon as a justification for the Red Wedding. A Dance with Dragons. Sir Jared Frey claims to the Merman's court that Robb was a warg who tore out Jingle Bell's throat. Quotes about Aegon. Did he always wear a fool's crown, or is that meant as mockery of Robb? Catelyn Stark's thoughts. Walder to Robb. Sire, forgive me, Aegon, the noise. He has less wits than a cranoman. He's never met a king before. One of Stebron's boys. We call him Jingle Bell. Robb responds, Sir Stebron mentioned him, my lord. Well met, Aegon. Your father was a brave man. Walder Frey and Robb Stark. Catelyn then says to Walder, on my honor as a Tully, on my honor as a Stark, I will trade your boy's life for Robb's, a son for a son. Walder responds, a son for a son. Huh, that's a grandson. He never was much use. Catelyn Stark and Walder Frey. Aegon, we called him Jingle Bell. A poor lackwit never hurt anyone. Lady Stark cut his throat. Amerei Frey to Lem. The Red Wedding was the young wolf's work. He changed into a beast before our eyes and tore out the throat of my cousin Jingle Bell, a harmless simpleton. Jared Frey to Wyman Anderley. Amerei Frey. Amerei Frey, called Amy, is a member of House Frey and the eldest daughter of Amerei Frey and Mariah Derry. Her promiscuity has earned her the nickname Gatehouse Amy. Her appearance, according to Jaime Lannister, Amerei is attractive, but has a pinched, chinless face. She has long legs, full breasts, and brown eyes. In history, when she was young, Amerei was discovered in the stables having sex with 3 grooms at the same time. Wow, she was having a foursome. This led her parents to marry her to Sir Pate of the Blue Fork, a hedge knight of humble beginnings. Pate's cousin, Tom of the Seven Strings, sang at the wedding. In recent events, Clash of Kings, Amerai's husband, Pate, is slain by Sir Mountain-Clegane during the War of the Black Kings, making her a widow. A storm of swords. Amerei is among the Frey women presented to Robb Stark, king in the north, when he comes to the twins for Lord Edmure Tully's wedding. A feast for crows. Sir Kevin Lannister has his son Lancel, the new Lord of Derry, marry Amy to ease the change of allegiance after the Red Wedding. This allows Lancel to strengthen his claims on the Derry lands, since Amy's mother, Mariah, is a Derry. However, Lancel, having discovered a devout piety to the faith, shows interest in neither his wife nor his lands. When Sir Jaime Lannister's knights visit Castle Derry, Amerei hosts a feast in their honor. She sobs that outlaws murdered her father, Amerei Frey. Sir Harwin Plum, the commander of the Derry's new garrison, has promised to bring Amerei the head of the leader of the outlaws, Lord Beric Dondarrion. She also charms her Sir Lyle Crakehall into agreeing to hunt the outlaws near her lands after the resolution of the siege of River Run. When Jaime warns Lancel that Amy is interested in Harwin, Lancel explains he intends to renounce his lordship over Derry and his unconsummated marriage with Amerei. During the siege of River Run, Sir Daven Lannister conjectures that Amy slept with Black Walder Frey. Jenna Lannister thinks Lancel's brother, Martin Lannister, could marry Amy. Quotes by Amerei. Lyle says to Amerei, "You have my word. Once River Run has fallen, I shall return to hunt down the Hound and kill him for you. Dogs do not frighten me." Amerei responds, "You are a true knight, Sir Lyle, to help a lady in distress." Lyle Crakehall and Amerei. Quotes about Amerei. Queen Cersei says to Lancel, "And you are to be wed as well." Lancel responds, "A Frey girl, and not of my choosing. She is not even maiden, a widow of Derry blood. My father says that will help me with the peasants, but the peasants are all dead." Cersei Lannister and Lancel Lannister. Jaime says to Lancel, "A lion shouldn't have horns. You took the girl to wife." Lancel responds, "I said some words and gave her a red cloak, but only to please father. Marriage requires consummation." Jaime Lannister and Lancel Lannister. Jamie says to David, I saw Lancel's bride at Derry. David says, in response, Gatehouse Amy? Gods be good. I couldn't believe that Lancel picked that one. What's wrong with that boy? Jamie then responds, he's grown pious, but it wasn't him who did the picking. Lady Amerey's mother is a Derry. Our uncle thought she'd help Lancel with the Derry small folk. David responds, how by fucking them? You know why they call her Gatehouse Amy? She raises her portcullis for every knight who happens by. Lancel had best find an armor to make him a horned helm. Jaime Lannister and David Lannister. Lady Stoneheart. Before we continue, just know this gets really spoilery. One of the most unforgettable moments in A Storm of Swords and the whole, quote, A Song of Fire and Ice series, unquote, is the epilogue reveal of Lady Stoneheart. In the final chapter of A Storm of Swords, a cravenly member of the Frey family gets abducted by the Brotherhood without banners, the group of freedom fighters led by Beric Dondarrion. Beric is conspicuous by his absence, but the rest of the Brotherhood is present and led by a cloaked figure. The cloaked figure passes sentence on the Frey and pulls its hood back, revealing the ruined, dead face of Lady Catelyn Stark. Calling herself Lady Stoneheart, Catelyn now has to hold her ravaged throat together to speak and is completely devoid of humanity or emotion. She has become the most vengeful and bloodthirsty character in the Game of Thrones saga, and is a threat to anyone whom Catelyn Stark once deemed an enemy. Beanoff and Weiss have not sprung Lady Stoneheart on fans as of yet, and it remains to be seen if this zombie version of Catelyn Stark is in the cards. But if the lady arrives, expect fandom to shatter. As a side note, because now it's down to the final season, yet to be announced by HBO for Game of Thrones Season 8, Episodes 1 through 6, it is very unlikely that Catelyn Stark coming back as a zombie, known as Lady Stoneheart, will ever be shown. what a major disappointment. A feast for crows. A cloaked and hooded woman is spoken of in the vicinity of Fair Market and Hag's Mire. There are also tales of a woman called Stoneheart leading a band of outlaws, different from Beric's brotherhood. According to one story, she has hanged by Freys but revived by Beric, and now the two lovers cannot die. The mysterious woman is also known as the Silent Sister, Mother Merciless, and the Hang Woman. While leading the Brotherhood, Stoneheart's outlaws come upon a small party led by Brienne of Tarth, who insists she is searching for Sansa at the behest of Jaime Lannister. Thoros reveals to Brienne that Beric's Brotherhood has been broken. Using a young Northman as her interpreter, Stoneheart says that Brienne has turned traitor as she carries Oathkeeper, a Lannister sword forged from the Stark Valyrian steel blade ice. Brienne swears she is still faithful, but Stoneheart insists she must prove it by killing Jaime. Brienne refuses, stating that Jaime has changed. Stoneheart says she must choose, either kill Jaime or be hanged. Brienne refuses to choose. Just before she, Kyle Hunt, and Podrick Payne are to be executed, however, Brienne shouts out a word. A dance with dragons. After Theon Greyjoy returns to Winterfell for the wedding of Ramsay Bolton and Arya Stark, Catelyn ruined Sept is among the places he visits. Within the castle crypts, Lady Barbara Dustin recollects to Theon that her one-time lover, Brandon Stark, had not wanted to wed Catelyn. Barbara had also hoped to wed Eddard Stark after Brandon died, but Ned instead married Catelyn during Robert's rebellion. Barbara intends to prevent Hallis Mullen from returning to Ned's bones to Winterfell. Lady Stoneheart. Death has changed Catelyn. Stoneheart is less gracious and forgiving than in life, and is consumed with a desire for vengeance on anyone she thinks betrayed her and her son Robb. She hangs any men associated with the Freys, Boltons, or Lannisters, even if they had nothing to do with the Red Wedding, or if they are boys, as is the case of Podrick Payne. Her appearance has been altered as well, with her flesh becoming soft and the color of curdled milk due to her corpse being submerged in river water for days. Half of her hair is gone, and the rest is white and brittle. In addition, her wounds have not healed, with her face covered in scratch marks and her throat still slit open. To speak, she must cover the wound on her throat. Even then, she is difficult to understand. Quotes by Catelyn. My son lies here broken and dying, Lewin, and you wish to discuss a new master of horse. Do you think I care what happens in the stables? Do you think it matters to me one whit? I would gladly butcher every horse in Winterfell with my own hands if it would open Bran's eyes. Do you understand that? Do you? Catelyn to Lewin. Catelyn says to Brynden, a woman can rule as wisely as a man. Brynden responds, the right woman can. Make no mistake, Cat. Lisa is not you. Catelyn and Brynden Tully. Robb, if that sword could bring him back, I should never let you sheath it until Ned stood at my side once more. But he is gone. My 100 Whispering Woods will not change that. Catelyn to Robb Stark. If I must trade our 4 Lannisters for their 2 Starks, I will call that a bargain and thank the gods. I want you safe, Robb, ruling at Winterfell from your father's seat. I want you to live your life, to kiss a girl and wed a woman and a father a son. I want to write an end to this. I want to go home, my lords, and weep for my husband. Catelyn to Robb Stark and his council. I want to weep, she thought. I want to be comforted. I'm so tired of being strong. I want to be foolish and frightened for once. Just for a small while. That's all. A day, an hour. Catelyn's thoughts. It is a monstrous, cruel thing to lose a child. Catelyn to herself. Wars need not be fought until the last drop of blood. Catelyn to Robb Stark. Catelyn says to Walder, on my honor as a Tully, on my honor as a Stark, I will trade your boy's life for Robb's, a son for a son. Walder responds, a son for a son, but that's a grandson. He never was much use. Catelyn Walder Frey. Quotes about Catelyn. All his life, Tyrion had prided himself on his cunning, the only gift the gods had seen fit to give him. Yet this 7 times damned she-wolf, Catelyn Stark, had outwitted him at every turn. The knowledge was more galling than the bare fact of his abduction. Tyrion Lannister's thoughts. You have courage, not battle courage perhaps, but I don't know. A kind of woman's courage. Brienne of Tarth to Catelyn. Quotes about Lady Stillman. Catelyn Stark might take a man prisoner, but she'd never stoop to rob him. That wouldn't be honorable. Tyrion Lannister to mourn. She don't speak. You bloody bastards cut her throat too deep for that. But she remembers. Lem to Amerei Frey. Her cloak and collar hide the gash his brother's blade had made, but her face was even worse than he remembered. The flesh had gone pudding soft in the water and turned the color of curdled milk. Half her hair was gone, and the rest had turned as white and brittle as a crone's. Beneath her ravished scalp, her face was shredded skin and black wood, where she had raked herself with her nails. But her eyes were the most terrifying thing. Her eyes saw him, and they hated Amerei Frey's thoughts. And there's this other band, led by this woman Stoneheart, Lord Varys lover, according to one tale. Supposedly she was hanged by the Freys, but Dondarn kissed her and brought her back to life. Now she cannot die, no more than he. I'll hunt to Brienne of Tarth. The Freys slashed her throat from ear to ear. When we found her by the river, she was 3 days dead. Harwin begged me to give her the kiss of life. It had been too long. I would not do it, so Lord Merry put his lips to hers instead, and the flame of life passed from him to hers. And she rose. May the Lord of Light protect us. She rose. Thoros and Brienne of Tarth. As a side note, it could be very well that after such a time that she has had her revenge, and while she also appeases the appreciation of Arya Stark taking Walder Frey's life, she then will have something spectacular happen, because the spirit world will accept her even if she did seek revenge, because of all the treachery that had been done to her. She will rise in a white light, going to the heavens of the gods of fire and ice.